Hello, everyone. It is a very sunny Thursday here in Seattle, and we're almost at the end of the school year, which is thrilling. One thing that AI and robots can't do is make school lunches at 6:30 in the morning. So I am very excited to get my life back. All right, let's see. I see people joining, so let's go through some logistics as people get settled in. My name is Erin Zabarak. I'm your host today for this DealerOn webinar, and I'm the Director of Marketing. I've been out traveling recently with these two lovely ladies, so let me introduce them for anyone we haven't had the pleasure of meeting in person over the last month or so. I'm joined today by two of my favorite humans as we navigate the world of AI, Christina Quado, our VP of Product Development, and Colleen Harris, Director of Analytics Consulting. Thank you both for being here.
So happy to join you today. Hello, everyone.
Hi, friends. Glad to be here.
So Colleen and I presented at DMSC at the end of April. Tina was just on a panel at ASOTUCon on the other side of the country in Maryland. And we've been talking all things AI search and discoverability for quite some time now. So really excited to put it all together for this session today. We are recording the training. We will send you both the deck and the recording after the webinar. Very important, you should see a Q&A section in your toolbar of Zoom. If you don't see it, click more. I promise it'll be there. Ask all the questions. Give us all your comments in that Q&A. I'm going to be hanging out there. We will bring things up live as time permits, and you all consistently bring the best comments, the best questions in there. So keep me busy. We do have a big group, so if it gets a little nuts, I might hold some of the questions to the end so we can get through all the great content the ladies have put together. Okay, let's get started. So everywhere we look, we're hearing about AI, not a big secret, not a revelation from us, I know. But for dealers, there's a few challenges we're going to focus on today, and we're going to give you the information that you need and the tools to work towards solving these problems. So the first is understanding what exactly we need to care about related to AI search. So many tools, lots of information everywhere. Where should we be focusing to get the best bang for our buck? Another challenge is kind of wrapping our brains around what good looks like related to AI search and what we should be measuring. You'll see it on the slide, and we will say it multiple times today, I'm sure. It's more than a click, it's a conversation. So, we're going to dive into understanding how consumers are using AI search and what you need to do to show up there. Finally, and I kind of alluded to this when I said we need to figure out what good looks like, it's how do we measure this? What reporting exists? Where's the data? Well, don't worry, nerds, we've got you covered today. And I say that with love, you know. Let's see. On the next slide, we've got a few definitions here. I'm not going to read all these, but Otto didn't have enough acronyms, so a few more for us. Today, we're really going to focus on GEO, which really means how do we get cited or linked in AI-generated summaries. AIO can be used a few different ways. We're going to talk a lot about AI overviews. We promise you'll see it all. All right, but even with all these new terms and this new frontier, biggest thing we need to remember is hype versus reality. SEO is not dead. It is still absolutely crucial. It's not going anywhere. Tina, I know you talked a lot about this specifically at ASOTUCon, but oh, it's in my throat. It's not dead. Talk about SEO, GEO, where everybody needs to be covered.
Yeah, absolutely. So SEO is absolutely not dead. I think what we're definitely seeing is that best practice and sound foundation in your SEO strategy does well for AI search engines and what we largely call GEO. Your GEO strategy is a layer on top of your overall SEO strategy. So think about your website right now and your content needing to serve three different audiences. Your shoppers that come onto the website, the search engines that are crawling your site and indexing your site, right? Those clicks and blue links that are still relevant, but now also those LLMs or large language models. And those are your chat GPTs, your Gemini, your Perplexity and Claude, and they crave more information and content and consistent content. We'll talk through a lot more of those content content strategies a little bit later on. But really want you to think of GEO as just a layer on top of your SEO strategy. I know Google, came out with some information a few days ago. I want you all to think that, yes, we should follow Google guidelines, but we also want to think and say Google's not the only player here. We got to think about ChatGPT and Perplexity, and they do still care about some of these GEO strategies. So let's just take a step back and look kind of historically on the rise of AI search tools and usage, and talk a little bit about what we're also seeing kind of network data from a DealerOn perspective. So it's no surprise, I definitely use it. Colleen uses it. Erin uses it in our daily life of chat GPTing something instead of, Googling something, right? But shoppers are still primarily using traditional search engines like Google and Bing to start their search. As we can see in these graphs, shoppers are tending to start to use more of those AI search tools. And specifically on that right side widget there, we're seeing kind of the difference between ChatGPT and Gemini usage. ChatGPT was a very predominant force. It still continues to be, but we're starting to see Gemini creep up in that usage. And I think that's really all towards, all the changes that Google is making.
Yeah, and I know we've got more data on the next slide, but an important to note is people are using Google, not intending to use AI overviews, not intending to use AI. It just serves itself up. Or at some point on your mobile device, it said, "Hey, do you want to use AI?" And you didn't know, and you clicked yes, and now you're always in there. So even if you are not really a believer that, okay, I don't know everybody's using it here, they're using it whether they like it or not, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so many searches that you start on Google, and then right at the top, you get that AI overview summary, and your shoppers are clicking into that link, coming onto your site, or just getting the answer from that summary as well. So, something that we are starting to take a look at generally of shopper tendencies and traffic onto your website. I would note, right, it's still a small percentage of traffic that is coming on to DealerOn network sites from AI search engines. And Colleen's going to get into a lot of that. So giving you the tools to figure out, how much and where they're landing.
Yeah, and that direct traffic might be low, but we know the information and the sentiment. We're going to talk a lot about the information they're seeing, even though it's not directly related to traffic. It's super important. And I know that
Absolutely.
the next slide, we've got kind of how people were searching short keywords, right? I think, 5, 6 years ago, it kind of like you were a caveman, food I eat now, but really keyword type.
Yeah, it was all focused around keywords, right? So I think a good example that you always give, Aaron, if you want to sell more used cars historically, you would build out those landing pages and target those keywords, specific models, specific years. Now that experience is leading more to a conversation. So these chat bots, these chat interfaces, specifically with ChatGPT and Gemini, you're typing in more long tail queries. I'm searching for a, 2019 Honda CRV in the Philadelphia area that still has X, under X miles, right? It is more of a conversation. And so we really want to start looking at the content on your website that can speak and respond to those types of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why, you're all here because you're the extra smart ones, you're advanced, but we're going to give a few more definitions here. Prompts, when we use the word prompts, this is the question that the person's asking. And to your, gosh, the stories I tell my Google now when I'm asking a question, it's super long. And then fan out queries, explain what this means, because this is kind of a new term for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the additional kind of topics or those branches that your chat experience is also looking to search for. It's like terms, like queries, like terminology that all then feeds into that initial response and even subsequent responses. Because if you're familiar with how these tools are working, you're asking that question, right? And you get that long answer, and then there's always an additional question or prompt that ChatGPT or Gemini asks you of the user. And so all of that goes into those additional questions and queries.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to start first because this really has two sides to it when we're talking about showing up in AI search. The second that we're going to hold is what do the website provider need to do? What's the technical piece that you all need to be talking with your provider, including us, to make sure that we're doing? The second is your homework. What's the
Absolutely.
content? What's the work for dealers that we need to do? And it's all content driven, right?
Yes. So content is definitely still king, right? But there's some things that you want to pay attention to around that content. It's not just about having more content, right? You want to make sure that the content is clear, transparent. Is it crawlable? Is it accessible to those bots? And that kind of starts to get into more of the technical and what your website provider should be doing, but just generally focusing in on your content strategy, holistically looking at the pages that you have on your website that you maybe haven't looked at in a while, those about us pages. Is that still relevant, or did you write that 5 years ago when you might have switched website providers or when you had a different marketing manager in that role? Look at your educational content and FAQs. FAQs are still very important. I know Colleen's got some information to share later on, but people are wanting to understand how different features about different models, right? They're really getting into the nitty gritty and asking these chat tools, how does this fit into my lifestyle? And you want to start thinking about the pages that you have on your website to respond to some of those questions that your shoppers are asking. How does this fit into the lifestyle of where your dealership is located? Maybe you are somewhere, in mountain towns and have a lot of snowy climates, right? Are people towing a lot of towing heavy equipment with their vehicles too? So think about where you're located and how you can start to localize that educational content too.
Yeah, Tina, Lisa has a good question. I think it weaves really nicely in here. So, are we finding that AI is ready to answer low funnel questions like about inventory availability and pricing, or are we still at the stage where this is most useful for like a tier one query, as we're building all this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we are certainly seeing a mix of both, right? There is still a lot of high funnel tier one type of questions, but we are starting to see a lot of our dealer, tier three content be surfaced in some of these AI responses. But again, I would really start to look at how you want to show up. You want to show up for more of those localized searches. And we are starting to see, shoppers ask around pricing, right? Where can I find X vehicle, this used vehicle, or this new vehicle in my area? Those are the type of queries that you want your content and your inventory and pricing to be visible.
Yeah, I make this joke all the time where I was a finance manager for a while and I still can't explain a lease to save my life. Like it's complicated, it's a little intimidating. So having information, what is a lease, what goes into it on your website, it matters. And I think the other thing I'd say to Lisa is uh, I want to show up for the prompts that I want to show up for, meaning those tier when it is a customer ready lower funnel. So I think you gave a great and complete answer. Fixed ops is another fantastic, opportunity. But your second section here on your dealership story, these are sometimes forgotten pages, where it's just going through it again, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. Fresh content, making sure it's updated always. Any other hot tips here on the content before we got to get to what we've got to do, right? We got to move
Absolutely.
forward.
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Okay.
So content is all good and well, right? This can absolutely shift. You can work with, your DealerOn folks, or if you're not a DealerOn customer, work with, who is responsible for your content, right? That is definitely a key part. But the other key part is your website and your pages need to be visible to these bots, to these robots. So there's a couple pieces that are really critical that you want to ask your provider. What type of schema do they have on your website? This is not only great for your AI search and GEO strategy, but is crucial for your overall SEO strategy too. So making sure that auto dealer schema is on there. We'll get into some more of the specifics on the next slide, but Schema markup really is that language of bots or robots. You might also hear that your robots.txt file is very important. And you want to start to look and understand from your website provider, are they allowing AI bots to crawl your site? That is really step number one, because if they are disallowing, then you're not going to be visible. So, as a DealerOn customer, we've got you covered. We've opened up for those AI search bots to be crawling your site and content. Um, Talking a little bit more about schema here. I mentioned auto dealer schema and local business. That's really important. That helps with that localization. And car and product schema. That's going to help make your inventory information, the models, the description, the pricing be visible to AI search bots.
Awesome. All right. You mentioned FAQ schema. I love an FAQ. I'd like to say Colleen and I have been training about FAQs for close to 10 years now and the importance of them.
Smart
We're just,
people ask the question of the
oh,
internet before they go in to a car dealership at all. That's what people
exactly.
do it. They've been doing it since the dawn of the internet. So FAQs are such an important part of that because it's allowing you to take the content, but also take the content and translate it into the language that the shopper's using. People don't know about various levels of oil and what does it mean. They just need to know how many miles do I get after the check oil light comes on before I actually have to go get it checked. That so it's translating everything into that. And this is both work that can be done with your SEO or website provider. And I'm now moving to the next slide because I know there's at least 12 of you going, but Colleen, Google said no last week. And they did, but they said they were removing the FAQ rich results from the search. Notice in this, they did not say anything about the AI overview. They did not say anything about Gemini. And we all know Google's going to talk about AI before they're going to talk about anything. The feature they removed was from the traditional search results. Back before we had all the AI overviews, Google had all these rich results in the search results. And that is what was removed support of. So while it Google did say that, and everyone said FAQ is dead, yada yada. No, this is still going to be something that is getting your information into the fastest language so that every LLM agent thing, crawler, whatever comes tomorrow, can get that and bring it back to the person asking those queries and asking those questions and having the conversation. So, what
Yeah.
Google said does not mean we shouldn't be doing it.
Well, and Google, and I'd like to go on record and say I love Google. I love the robots. For everybody listening, please don't break my computer. Google is in charge of Google. But as we're seeing, ChatGPT usage is huge, and Google is not in charge of ChatGPT. So I'm sure
And
that
there are
frustrates
so
them.
many other, every day there's a new agent that's been released that people are using. I look at the data on the network level, there's at least 2 dozen various search agents that are showing up right now. So it's not just thinking about Google. And I know it's crazy for me to say that, but that's where we roll right now.
Right. And I have a few questions. I'm holding them on purpose, so I promise I'm not ignoring anybody. One other thing that was kind of talked about in this Google, and we do have the link to the resource that Colleen's talking about here at the end of the deck, llms.txt files. So this is something that we kind of jumped on early, and there's a lot of things around this. Tina, I'm going to have you address this.
Yeah. So LMS TXT files, I know I mentioned robots TXT files, right? That's the traditional kind of guide in which the traditional bots look at your website to understand the content. Your LLMS TXT file is a very similar type of file that is specific to large language models. And this is viewed and used by certain large language models, Perplexity being one of them. But it's not something that others are using yet from, the other big kind of four or five. But as I do think that this is a great practice to get started with. It allows you to add in basic site information. It allows you to break down the information that is on your site. It allows you to add in as as verbose as you want to be about your brand, your dealership, links out to other pages and other websites that reference your brand. Brand authority is really important to large language models. So this file can also help you kind of create and coalesce all of that information into one file for those large language models to read.
And
Perfect.
for my
Oh,
friends who are saying Google said last week that you shouldn't use it for SEO, yes, for AI SEO, Google said LLMS. But yesterday, in all of the other pieces that Google released, they did say they will reference an LLMS file when crawling, and what Tina said about the brand. So it may not be specific SEO, but it is a very useful tool for both Google and, as we keep saying, everybody else in there to get your information out.
yes. It was an interesting read. I am going to drop it in the chat here in a second. A few questions that I'll post to you both. So Tina, is AI learning and linking info from our website as well as social media pages?
Yes, it
Pretty good.
absolutely is, right? It is not just looking at your website. I think a lot of the things that we're hearing is Reddit, right? Reddit and Yelp reviews, maybe things that you haven't looked at in a while. They are easy to crawl, and that is something that, we know that ChatGPT and other large language models use as a source. So it is looking at socials as well as your website. And your socials too, your X, your Facebook, your Google business profile, extremely important to kind of collect all of that information about your brand.
Yeah, everything. Marty says, and I think you said this, basic and extended LLMs are, so there's a TXT and then a full, right? And we
Yes.
support both is
We
important.
absolutely do. Yes, they're both TXT files. One is kind of your shortened LMS TXT, and then there's your LMS full.txt file. DealerOn supports both versions. Your full version is obviously for putting in a lot more of that information that I spoke about. It's not just your, links to look at and links to not look at from your website. It's all of that information about your brand and why they should care and all of the information.
Perfect. And I know we've got three different ways to accomplish it here. Kaylin asks, do all dealer on sites have it? All dealer on sites have the capability to upload it. So depending on your SEO package or your GEO package, we can create it for you. But all of them, if you have a dealer on website, we can absolutely put it up there. So we'll follow up and make sure your CSM follows up with you. Last question, and then Colleen, I'm going to have you move to the next slide while I ask it. Any rumors on when Google will monetize ChatGPT from a paid search perspective?
It's all about the advertising. Yes, Google released a whole slew of advertising updates, and I'll use this as a shameless self-promotion for my LinkedIn. I just shared a really good recap this morning from somebody if you're looking for specifics. But yes, ChatGPT has been trying to monetize. They have not been as successful. I think ChatGPT learned real fast how hard it is to do the advertising and do it well. Google has a leg up on them, and they are now will start rolling out all of those various places to do monetization of Gemini and the AI overviews and all of that. I suspect they've not said this, but my reading of the tea leaves also says in automotive, we will see that with vehicle listing ads. Those are going to be placements for vehicle listing ads. That's going to be the one place that Google will pay attention to first, because sometimes they don't like to give us all the stuff right away and it goes to big brands. But I would say that.
Perfect. Okay, we're all caught up. So the
Sweet.
one question we've been getting though is, okay, well, how do I know the data? How do I know what to see? You presented this at DMSC. I stood there and pretended I was smart enough to know how it all worked. This is the info. ChatGPT is like super forthcoming with all the data, right? They
Oh
give
yeah,
us everything.
you think Google hides all their data from us? ChatGPT has literally just said, nope, not getting anything. So this is what I get very passionate about of figuring this out because there's so many black boxes. You cannot get anything from ChatGPT about what you might be visible for, the type of prompts, the types of fan outs. You have to mine all of that and hope you're getting it. What Bing and Google have is a lot of information that will let you know what you're showing up for in those conversations. What type of conversations are being asked, what you might be showing for, what you're getting clicks for. And then within GA4, you're also going to be able to see when you're getting those clicks, what people are doing. And gathering the data from those two pieces is really what your baseline is. You want to know how to grow this. You want to talk about all the content. This is how you figure out where am I right now? And then pair that with your content planning to say, this is where I'm headed and this is how I'm going to judge this. First off, Bing really be trying to be doing the best right now because they have actually built into Bing Webmaster Tools the AI performance for Copilot. Copilot is about 7 to 10% of all AI chat right now, so it's not that it's not a lot. Yes, ChatGPT is going to be the beast over there, but the conversation is the same in regardless of what tool somebody's using. They're still going to be asking those conversational questions. So this is a really great way to start to understand what your baseline is and what type of queries and questions and conversations you're visible for. Bing, because they had to be difficult, calls it grounding queries instead of prompts or anything like that. Bing be Bing. We just say that's awesome. And so when you're in your Bing Webmaster Tools, there will be a whole AI performance section that will show you these type of things, like what is the gross weight vehicle of a 2025 Ford Explorer? These are the type of questions and things that are getting asked all the time, and what you want to start answering with this new content and approach you're looking for.
It's funny, Marty just typed, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that feels like we're just winging it. It's building the plane in the air as literally as possible. And to be talking this much about Bing, sorry, Bing, I'm in Seattle area, so we should be
I
nice to
know, like I have
Microsoft
to be
too.
nice.
But they really are giving us some information. I got to add grounding to my
Yeah,
glossary
I
here.
know.
But what's all this stuff? This is brand
Bing
new.
is also enhancing this next quarter, so in the next couple of months, they're reporting and giving us really good nuggets. Talking about the citation share, so being able to say how much of the all the citations is at your site compared to other things. And then they're going to start taking those grounding queries, which sounds like some new age blanket, let me just be honest, and takes all of these pieces and puts them into categories. Does some of the work for you about saying, these are the ones that are researched, this is comparison. All of this is really good because this is what we want to care about. I want to know what my shopping comparison when they're trying to compare vehicles and going through that. And so there's a lot of really great nuggets coming out within Bing Webmaster Tools. So if you have not installed it yet on your site, that would be your other homework of getting that set up because there's just goodness. And yeah, Marty, it's crazy that like we all get really excited about maybe understanding 15% of the data and like but we that's where we're living right now. So
Okay, so Kimberly, go back a slide. Kimberly asked the question that she's asking what everybody's thinking. How do I find my Bing Webmaster tool? And I'm with you. Like, so where do we find it?
if this is going to be how Google focused my brain is, I literally have to search in Google Bing Webmaster
I
Tools.
was just literally going to say Google it.
And when you Google Bing Webmaster Tools, the first thing that will pop up is the remove a URL form. The second link will be how to log in. And once you log into Bing Webmaster Tools, there's a menu over on the right-hand side that will include what you need, the code you need to give to your website provider.
Okay, and just so we're clear, and I'm going to ask this very pointedly, and you decide how you want to answer it. There's no way to actually measure how to track the results of GEO efforts, or you're really providing us a few ways to do it, right? You're going to show us.
This
Uh,
is providing the ways to do it, and it is starting to think about, and we'll get in a second here, part of AI and judging, am I successful, is growing things like your citation share and growing things like the visibility score. It may not result in actual traffic every time, but success means that you're part of the conversation. If ChatGPT is pulling you into there and you're able to see the amount of citations you have grow, that's success now. It's a
Right.
whole just new metrics we're looking at, adding into what we've already been thinking about.
Yeah, clicks, conversions, these are not the only measures of
Nope.
success, especially with AI and the way it's zero click attribution at this point, right? Tina, you can unmute, you can chime in. You're
Oh,
welcome.
I was just going to say zero click attribution, but you're reading my mind, Erin.
Oh, we're on the same page. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm catching up on the questions. I'm going to let you keep going, but are there any rumor of Google offering the same insights in the future?
We'll hold that question for in a
Okay.
couple of slides.
Okay, perfect.
So, Google this month said that they're going to bring the AI assistant channel into GA4. And shockingly, Google has not put it in any of the automotive accounts. I checked again this morning across multiple providers and all the access I have, still don't see it. We're the stepchildren. We'll get it sooner or later. Here's the other part of it, though. I am not confident that Google fully understands the breadth of how people are searching with all the different AI agents that exist out there. So right now, I would still say that talking through the custom channel grouping we'll do in a little bit is the best way to get that holistic picture. Because we don't know yet what Google is really including in here, and I don't trust it until I can actually see it. Okay, so yes, for the Search Console. This is going to be, and if you're multitasking, I have no fault for you, but you might want to come back to this screen because this is a good one. The idea of this conversation is that you're including more words in a query. It's not just Ford near me, but you're asking about which 2025 model has third row seats. Google right now is not giving any of that information out directly. I don't see them ever changing that unless something, because they have so many different places they're now impacting in search. I don't see them doing that because being able to consolidate that data would be a pain. And I just don't see Google wanting to expose all of that. But that's okay because within Google Search Console, you can filter down to only see things that are 7 characters or 7 words or more. And that's what this screenshot is going to tell you. That you go into Search Console, you match the custom regex, and then paste it in there. This deck gets sent out after, and if you reach out to Erin if you need it and it doesn't show up, so you can get that. And what this is telling me is give me every query that is greater than 7 words. You can adjust that to be 8 or 9, down to 5 or 6. But when we apply this, what we're getting now is a list of every query that's showing up in Search Console that is longer related. You can see in here, I don't directly know this is from an AI channel, but it says in United States, be sure to reply in English. I'm going with that's somebody talking to their chat GPT or something else, and Google's gathering the whole query. So I'm able to know. And so there's confidence. Do I directly know? No. But these are the type of things that are getting asked within the Google space. So this
Okay,
is,
I want you to slow down. So you gave us this, and I'm speaking for the car guys. I'm speaking for the car guys. So you gave us that nerdy regex that I
yes.
definitely know what a regex is.
Yep.
You gave us that. We plug that in, and this list is what people who've actually come to our website based on this actual prompt.
People who have asked the question within Google. Does
Okay.
not guarantee somebody has visited your website,
Okay.
but it means these are all the questions that are being asked within Google. And we can
Fantastic.
see with this that this is going to be, well, I don't know that it's from an AI search It is from an AI search because of the all the indications that you can see from this.
Understood. And this is where you use your critical thinking skills to say, okay, which of these do I care about if I
Exactly.
show up for an answer or not? And if you don't
Exactly.
care, ignore it and move forward, right?
Yes, but what we
I
can
think
see in
this
this example is like, here's all the different questions being asked about blind spots in SUVs, and how can you build content out to answer some of that?
Tina?
and Colleen, yeah, I think this goes back, I think, to the question that Lisa had, right? Like, are we seeing shoppers be more, higher funnel, or are we actually seeing them ask questions that, my dealership, my tier three site would show up in? And I think this example here, Wallace Slice, does show that yes, they're asking, higher level questions, but you're also starting to see what are the best deals on a new Chevy truck near me.
Yep,
That's where you want your dealership to show up. You want your Chevy trucks to be mentioned in those responses, right?
yep.
Yeah.
My favorite is I'm driving Silverado truck, and when I turn, I hit things.
That sounds like a separate problem for you,
Uh,
sir.
Wow. Well, and Marty, I'm typing right now. People are going to think that I planted him in the audience. That we don't want to work on content on these queries that are like less than 10 a month. We want to work on the big ones and the things that we care about. Again, low funnel,
yep.
shop buyers, not necessarily shoppers.
And for anybody who saw the top of this list and said, plan a weekend trip to a national
Uh,
park, and went, huh? Don't worry. Aaron and Tina went, huh, too, when we first put this deck together. Remember back in 2015 when we were all writing those what to do around my dealership blogs? Those are all coming back to play right now. This is why this is the time to edit, to go through, maybe archive some blogs that don't need to be out there anymore or are not part of it, because chat GPTs are crawling and they're finding these things, and they were well written at the time, serving an entirely different purpose. Now it's a chance to show up for things that you really probably don't care about, and it may be a chance to just weed that content off of your site.
yep. Okay. So you showed us Google Search Console. So let's talk GA4.
Yep.
What's available there?
Yes, and this is for everyone because, like I said, at some point Google is going to give us the AI Assist channel. I will be shocked when it actually shows up. This can be applied to any of the reports in the Google Analytics interface, the detail reports. And so what you do, this example here is to look at traffic acquisition. This is where you want to start because this will show you what agents you're showing up for. First, you're going to create this filter. It's going to be session source. I call out that specifically because if you take session source medium, nothing will work, and then you're going to think your entire site is broken. And I don't tell you that because I've done that at least 2 dozen times in the last month. So if I'm messing it up, this is why I say it aloud all the time. And then you're going to paste this in. Some may notice this is more than what Google talks about in their AI channel grouping, which is why I'm suspect to what they're doing. And this is going to give you the whole piece. So I am applying a session source filter that matches the regex, and I've pasted that in. And for those who are wondering, regex is basically a fancy way to get Google to look at all of these different session sources in one line of code. There's a better explanation for regex, but I don't actually know
Yeah.
what it is either.
No, thanks for defining it for all the people who didn't know what it was, not including me at all.
I gotcha.
Perfect. Okay, so this is real traffic?
This is real traffic. So I've applied this, and now I'm able to see, first off, you can see the session source and medium have how this comes in changes on the regular. Depending on the day, ChatGPT, I've seen up to 6 different mediums that they leverage. So this is why I like this filter because it gives us that holistic picture. It's also going to tell you what's going on for like a Copilot Perplexity. As you can see here, I only grabbed the beginning or only grabbed the top list, and it was looking at like a couple of weeks. It's never going to be a lot of traffic. Let's just be clear about that. This is all, as what Tina and Aaron said, a lot of AI search and optimization for AI search is for the zero click where you're not going to see the traffic reflect in your Google Analytics, and that's okay. There's just new numbers that we're pulling into this to think about your citations and your visibility that way. But what this filter can also tell you is on the pages and screens, what URLs are both getting indexed as well as getting traffic from, we're getting people who are clicking through. So you're matching the conversation going on and your content is good enough that they're coming through to that. And there's a couple of things to call out here. One, this is going to help you see, is it more like standard platform pages that are getting traffic compared to a custom landing page you might build? I know everybody loves the custom inventory landing pages, but as you see here, platform pages, Google, the machine recognizes machine and they love it, so that's what we see here. There's also a lot, what to bring to purchase a vehicle. Must have Ford accessories. These are the type of things, yes, you may not get a lot of page views, but that's a converting shopper. That's a shopper who's coming to your site to learn about what you need to purchase a vehicle. If there's nothing better in intent to purchase from you than visiting a page that says, what do I need to purchase a vehicle? So this is where you can start to take stock of, what do I care about? Do I care about hybrid or do I not care about hybrid? And do I want to focus content on that? Fixed ops is always that thing. You can see the type of pages that are showing up, and this might be the pages that you want to focus on and flesh the content there out. But it gives you that ability to say, this is what the AI models are seeing of my content right now.
Yeah, it's no surprise to me how heavy fixed ops it is too. I know it's a lower volume, of course. It always is for us in fixed ops. That's my background, so I always love it. But this content is super important. I have several questions I'm saving because they're content related. So I want to get through to the resources. So we've done fantastic on time. Talk through these tools. So that first one is the Google recent, what just this week, what they released.
Yes. Google released at some point in the last week, they're optimizing for AI search and all of those pieces. And it is a very good read because we always like to know what Google's thinking about. You also may find that a lot of their recommendations, like we said at the beginning, are basic SEO recommendations. There's nothing new or fancy or big or different out of answering questions and providing content. So
Perfect.
that's the first one to include in there. I also built out the resource slide because I love to have little nuggets for my other nerd friends, as Aaron calls them, my nerd posse.
Mhm.
Um, Answer the Public has been one of my favorite sites for the last 15 years.
Yeah,
It puts in you put in a keyword and it gives you all the fan out queries that you could ever want. It does the who, what, when, where, and why, and all other types of queries. You're not going to use most of it, but it's going to have really good nuggets if you're trying to do research or if you're trying to talk with your SEO provider. These are the questions to ask them about what research tools are they using, what are they going through that.
perfect.
AI, there's a Chrome extension, because I know y'all love your Chrome extension, that will take a search and like tell you all the various fan out queries that ChatGPT might be using for that. Then I will always include schema.org because we get questions daily about if the schema is right or not. What should I be doing? Schema.org is going to be the best way to do that. And then there is a email, SEO for Lunch. It's a newsletter that focuses entirely on AI related GEO topics and all of that, but with an SEO perspective. Really good recaps, nuggets, just a very helpful, like, I actually open it when it comes to my inbox, which is the best compliment I could give anybody.
These days, it absolutely is. Okay, so fantastic. The last thing we promised that we were going to talk about, Tina, you haven't been busy at all. Your team has not developed anything new and crazy, amazing lately. I'm just joking. You just released in beta. We've got DealerOn Sidekick, which is separate. And if you want to ask me about that, ask me about that, but on prompt. So we've talked a lot about the importance of showing up in AI search, how it can be a little bit ambiguous. Colleen showed several DIY hacks that were 301, not even 201. We
Absolutely.
have a tool that is going to help dealers and is already helping dealers here in the last few weeks. We've launched it with identifying how you're showing up in AI search, where your opportunities are, and how to track that performance. So, talk to us a little bit about this tool.
Yes, so it's called On Prompt. And Aaron, as you said, we are tracking different prompts to show your visibility, your brand's visibility, your competitors' visibility across those prompts, and giving you recommendations in order to improve or adjust content, right? The goal is still wanting to be visible in both traditional search and blue links, as well as these new AI search tools, because we know shoppers are using them. And if you're not part of the conversation, like we've been saying throughout this presentation, then shoppers aren't going to come to your site, find your content. And so on prompt allows you to have, a little peek behind under the hood, if you will, to see how visible your brand and content is within a set of prompts. Local prompts, fixed ops prompts, sales as well. We can help you track any of that information. So if you want to dive into what Colleen just showed you today, more power to you. If you want a built out solution and some guidance with our fantastic SEO team, this is the beta product for you.
And the one thing I would add to that is that this is one of those times where we took and developed something for automotive in tier three. Some of the other tools that are out there right now are great, but they're for any industry. So it doesn't really apply to automotive, or like tries to tell you that your competitor is Chevy if your friend's Chevy. And it just like, this is designed for the tier three dealer, which I think is a win and something that we don't have enough of. It's not for a tier one. This is for dealers wanting the easiest way to track that visibility and that zero click of it all.
Yeah, we're looking at dealer specific prompts, and it is real data for your dealership. So, Will had the question, and Tina, you and I have talked a lot about this. Do we fully trust AI visibility scores? So, when it's synthetic data, which some tools are utilizing, I think it gives you a few more questions. But on prompt comes with a visibility score, and
Yeah,
it's
I
true data.
So yeah, let's take a step back. I think a visibility score is a guide, right? I think if you look at your ChatGPT, your Gemini, it's personalized for you. It's going to know, how to respond back to you. So this is really us giving you a guide of how visible you are. I would not take that as it is
Certainly.
55% visible in this prompt, right? It is meant to be a guide to show you where you sit. Yes, we show if you're 27% visible for this prompt or 89% visible in this other prompt, but it's based on the responses that we are collecting that are actual responses back from our tool doing those queries to those different models.
Right,
So I
right.
would say that, we are all still learning a lot about the visibility of content in AI search. I think it is a good marker to start tracking.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay, let me go back to the other questions. Okay, scroll, scroll, scroll. Okay, so Lindsay asks for more of this for informational content we've been talking about and what needs to be added to the site. Is it best to create site mapped pages or have info in a blog, or where's the right way to put this information on a site? Colleen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, any place you're putting in a blog or otherwise should also be have a sitemap associated with it, because if you're not, it's not on the sitemap, it's not there in a lot of the Google traditional minds. So you want to make sure that anything is sitemapped. I think it then goes to, if you're a dealership who has a blog history and you have that, it's great to start answering some of those questions within there. If it's not something that you've historically ever done, doing those index pages and like linking from the content in your homepage is perfect, or doing it that way, but don't leverage like blog posts just for that purpose. Just a standard page is great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I would add to that and say, is the content that you want to put on the site, do you think an actual human shopper would benefit from reading it, right? And if the answer is yes, then make sure that it is a page and not sitemapped only.
Excellent. Okay, so this is a broad question. We've shown how we're going to show, on prompt shows you, here's the prompts, here's how that you want to track, here's how you're showing up. I lost it. Are the answers provided by an LLM ranked by AI? Meaning, I'm trying to say this right. Are the answers provided by Ella? Do we have any way to say, okay, these are the most important prompts to show up? We're still learning, Tina, right? And I think it's very geographical and it's very, what are you focused on? We're seeing some rural dealers wanting to focus more on fixed operations. How are we kind of building these prompts? We're using all the info that Colleen shared and just best practices, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the term ranking is really still more from a traditional standpoint, right? Your Google ranking top to bottom, you've got your sponsored content and then, it ranks based uh on that page. AI responses are a little bit different, right? It is giving you a response and then, further up, I think what we're seeing, those are kind of the most relevant information.
There it is.
But it also takes into consideration your brand, your authority, the sentiment that is
Yeah.
around your brand and content too. So it's a little bit different in those responses in terms of that terminology of ranking.
And if
Yeah,
you,
that's a great
the
point.
equivalent to it kind of would be the number of citations you have. And if you can grow the number of citations would be the equivalent of like gaining ranking if it was 5 years ago and we were talking about that.
Yeah, sentiment's a great call out, Tina. Just because you show up, how are you showing up? That's going to matter too. It could be in a way that you wish you were not showing up. Reviews, reputation plays a part in this all. Let's get back to blogs. So Christopher has a fun story. So they killed off their blog a few years ago because the content wasn't related, Colleen, like your example, to selling. The SEO team was posting about best hamburgers in the area. So should we bring back our blog for AI queries, or should the queries and answers be on model pages, about us pages, new page for every query? What do you think?
In the best world where you're trying to take advantage of everything, but not just create noise for the internet, there's going to be, as you're looking at data and prompts and what people are saying, you're going to group things together. And so, say there's 5 or 6 queries about used cars in the area that you could do. That's going to be a whole page because you're going to answer out everything. Say there's a couple that you have high impressions for, that could go onto a model page. Or if it's something nuanced, you could build a new page or do a blog, like the towing factor for different vehicles. If you see there's a lot of various queries about can this car tow or what is the tow weight, maybe that's a blog talking about towing. But it's looking at the type of information or the type of queries that you're showing for right now and have those impressions for, and which ones you want to grow, and then organizing content that way.
I would definitely say diversify your content strategy. I've even, spoken with some dealers that are saying they're looking at their entire content strategy more from like a marketing and PR perspective. Think about press releases that you're putting out there too. If you're not doing any of that, maybe you want to start. That all of that information feeds into your brand authority with these large language models, and all of that information can get cited in some of these responses. It's not just from your website, as I think
Exactly.
we've said multiple times here.
Yes. My new best friend Marty wants to know if we think AI is going to be able to detect copy and pasted content that might already be on the internet somewhere else, similar to the old school keyword stuffing Google used to be able to detect. I think unique content matters. So if
Yes.
it is a copy paste, and we see that with SEO already, if it's not unique content, you're not fooling anybody, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's definitely going what we're seeing hold true at least right now for large language models, right? The authoritative source is the one with that first unique content. And then if that copied content is shared across multiple websites, it's still that first authoritative source getting the citation or the higher citation.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And Will has some good questions, Tina. I think this is a great way to end. So we've talked a lot about what he's got two, so I'm going to combine them. What the website platform should be doing to make sure your sites are showing up. So talk a little bit about, you mentioned it already, robots.txt. I think, 18 months ago or so, we were making sure that bots weren't crawling sites because,
Bots
malicious
are bad, right?
bots were bad. And we had to change things. Obviously, we were ahead of the curve to make sure that LLMs, which are bots, could
Yeah.
scrape the site. So, talk a little bit about what's the recommendation for setting up that structure to optimize AI ability to index certain information.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that your website provider should be looking at and add that into their robots TXT file. So we allow, the OpenAI bot, the Perplexity bot, Bing bot, all of that. There's still bad bots that we want to block, and your website provider should have a strategy around with their team and technical team around still being able to identify malicious blocks or bots, excuse me, or attacks in that way. So yes, it's one thing to open up for the good bots, but we still want to be keep our eye on any sort of malicious attacks or bad bots too.
And it's
Absolutely.
a fluid thing too, I would say to that. We are constantly working with the team to say, I every week will send over something and say, hey, this looks suspect. I don't know if we should be blocking it or not. And your provider should be able to say you're having these ongoing conversations and always updating what is allowed and not allowed. It's not a set it or forget it and forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's come up a few times in the chat, and Will alluded to this, is how are we working with our internal teams? Most of our website customers also have SEO with us. How are those teams partnering together? Tina, Colleen, and I have been doing a lot of training with the teams, and we're training each other. And we're getting all the new information as it comes to make sure that all the work that we are doing for you, our customers, are optimizing, including looking at SEO packages. We've got GEO offerings. So it isn't one size fits all because some dealers are taking a lot of this on themselves and doing a lot of their own work. Some say, here, handle this for me. And we've got packages for that too. So identifying the right mix with your team is critical. And it's something that we take really seriously. So Cole snuck a question in, which I think is great. Will AI search engines rank AI generated content lower? Like, do they hate themselves? Is it will they look at content on your site? I don't think so. Not that we've seen.
It goes to the quality of the traffic. Like
True.
if you're taking AI, the first thing is we've been using spun content in SEO for as long as I've been in SEO, and that was in Yahoo Page Builder. So this is not a new thing. What they're not going to do is spun content that's not been edited at all, not been customized. If you're using AI tools to start to generate content, that should be 60 to 70% of the SEO, but you should still be doing the reading of it, the customize, because if you're not reading it, not doing that, that's just as bad as you used to
Right.
list out 15 cities in your H1 back in the days.
Oof.
So
That was my move. That was my move in 2005. Come on.
yeah,
All right. 2005, time has no meaning. All right. Ladies, thank you so much for being here with us. We will send the recording and deck out. If you have any question, webinars at dealeron.com, and we will see you next time.
bye
Thank